I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, say hello to Dave Pygon. He is an acclaimed author and master strategist who has dedicated his life to unraveling the complexities of peak performance. His seminal work, Win the 16, presents a clear and actionable pathway towards personal and professional mastery, intertwining practical strategies with profound insights drawn from real-world experiences. The full name of the book, Win the 16, Principles and Strategies to Optimize Your Day. We're delighted to have Dave join us here today on Spotlight, and we ask viewers like you to support writers like him by subscribing to our channel. Dave, thanks so much for being our guest today.
Logan, thanks for having me. And the way you introduced me today, I think I need to bring you out on the road with me. I could use your services, my friend. If you're willing to donate some time, we could sure use you.
Exactly. I'll be your ringleader, your cheerleader there to get the crowd going. That sounds good.
Yes.
I love books like this, strategies for success, strategies to optimize your day. I find them like pep talks. I've read, the 7 habits or whatever, how many habits of highly effective people, and all of the Tony Robbins books, because they pump you up. And yours is in that category. It really gets your head on straight if you're looking for a job, if you're looking to advance in your job, if you're looking to, achieve a certain level of success, which all of us in our professional lives are constantly trying to do. So let me start out by breaking this down for the audience and ask you what you mean by the term win the 16.
Oh, great. Thanks, Logan. Well, first of all, full transparency here. When I first came up with the idea, and the way I've lived my life is been how do I be the most productive? I've always been that guy where I got up early. Time management's important to me. I always got that. So I said, I'm going to write a book, and I'm going to do Win the Day. Well, my lawyer goes, no, trademark. You're not going to do that. I go, okay. I thought you might say that. Win the 24. Like, no, trademark. That's out. So then I went back to the lab and started thinking, and I came up with, because I was one of those guys, Logan, and I don't know where you're at on this, was I didn't think I needed a lot of sleep. I'm high energy, I'm busy, I got a lot of stuff. Well, I was completely wrong. All the data supports we all need 7 to 9 hours of sleep.
Right.
Some more, but generally speaking, to be our best selves. So I came up with Win the 16. That's 16-hour waking hours if we're sleeping 8 hours to be our best self. So that's how we came up with Win the 16.
Gotcha. I think it's a great idea to strategize your day like you suggest in the book. For me, I am an early riser. If I'm up at 5 or 6 in the morning, I can get a whole day's work done by 9 a.m. If I rise at 8 and I start my work at 9, by the time I have my breakfast and my coffee and I check my email, I'll have wasted half a day. So is being an early riser one of your principles?
Well,
Strategies?
I am with you, by the way. And if you look at most of the data, highly successful people tend to get up early because they start addressing what they want to do, their priorities, their goals, their self-development before what I call it, Logan, chaos.
Yeah.
Chaos begins. So I always recommend to people, win your day by 10 a.m. Now, I mean that authentically, but also I know that's not fully realistic. We do have a lot of people out there that work night shifts. They work different hours. So I never want to preclude them from winning the 16. So they're working, they're winning, what time they wake up is completely different. You mentioned checking email. One of the things that I recommend in the book, if done properly, not to check email if you can until you knock off a task or priority or a goal or something for you in your day to be productive first. I have a cute story on that if I can tell it to you real quick.
Absolutely.
A couple of years ago, I had a great boss in corporate America leading a team, all jacked up. I read this great article. I don't know if it was in Inc. or Forbes. It says, don't check email first thing until you knock off a goal or priority. So I go, Logan, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
So this was 7, 8 o'clock at night. Well, the next morning, of course, what happens? I get a call around 8:30. My boss is great. Good person. Dave, everything okay? I said, absolutely. In fact, I've started this new thing, and I've already knocked off 2 or 3 things that are really important to my day. And he
Right.
goes, oh, I figured something was going on because we sent out an email this morning at 7 a.m. for an urgent conference call at 8 o'clock. Logan, I tell that cute story because that never happens. But
Right.
the day I decide to do this, that's what transpires. So everyone out there, I'm still for not checking email right away. If you can, just
Right.
tell the boss.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a good idea. Tell the boss. And it is hard in this day and age. Email has become instant communication because so few people pick up the phone nowadays to actually talk. So people do expect quick responses. So you're right. Optimize your day by working, at least accomplishing one task and then looking at the email, but let the higher ups know that you don't check email until 9 o'clock. In fact, that's a good auto response. I check my email at 9, noon, and 5 p.m. And that would be a good strategy as well, I'd presume, right?
I love it. And I'm glad you said that, Logan, because I recommend that to people. Is I read that, and again, the internet is a double-edged sword. And I've learned over the years, just because it's published doesn't mean it's true.
Right.
So don't take this number for fact. It just gets you to really think. The average person checks their email 28 times a day.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah. So if it's 28 or 12 or whatever, my recommendation is schedule it.
Yeah.
Let people know that inner circle people who communicate with you often,
Right.
let them know. And if they have an idea, the other thing I found too is we're our own worst enemy, Logan. Meaning a lot of times, so for instance, if I sent you an email, you might not even care. You sent me one if I respond in a day, 6 hours, but I feel obligated. I got to get back to Logan right away.
Right.
The reality is, if I ever said, hey, Logan, do you need me to respond to you right away? You'd probably say, Dave, no, I'll let you know if you need to respond right away. It could take days. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
that's that intrinsic pressure we put upon ourselves. And it's probably costing us, and let me rephrase that, it is absolutely costing us efficiency and effectiveness, Logan.
Exactly. I don't want to dwell too much on email because there's other topics to cover.
Sure.
But one thing that drives constant email checking also are the algorithms. If you have any business apps such as Airbnb or VRBO and the like, they
Yes.
rate you on how quickly you respond to emails. So it is a double-edged sword for sure, and we're all working it out. Let's talk about the central principles in your book. What are the underlying strategies? If you could just share a couple of them with the folks watching.
Sure. I think we touched on early success in the day. And early success is defined differently for everybody. For somebody who doesn't walk in the morning, data supports walking first thing in the morning, getting some sunlight is good for you. It gets your mind and your body going.
Oh, yeah.
So I encourage in the book, get an early success. Could be meditating, could be reading 10 minutes of a self-help. And that's what's great about Win the 16, Logan. It's your Win the 16. You decided, here are some different concepts. You pick out which you'd like to work on or implement in your life. And then you decide. I give tons of ideas and stories. You can emulate them. Wonderful. But also, my hope is you come up with other ones. So we talked about early successes. We talked about this time management piece, scheduling things in your day. We talk about motivation. There's a whole chapter on motivation. I'm addicted to motivation. I love motivation. The problem with that, Logan, we're not always motivated every day. So how do we get things done that we need to get done? How do we make sure we're productive? Well, that's where in the book I talk about discipline. And there's a whole chapter on that. The other one is habits. I always tell people, in January 1st is the best example. I love people. I think their intentions from the heart are there. But most people never come close to achieving their New Year resolutions. And for most people, it's really a couple things. One is discipline, no question. The other one is they have the goal, but they don't create the habit to ensure the goal gets going. And whatever data you believe again here is, it takes habits anywhere between 21 and 70 days to become a habit. Again, that's a general number because, again, whatever you believe in, there's different data pieces out there, but it takes a while. But if you can just get the discipline to create that habit, you are going to be well on your way of getting to where you want to go and achieving that goal. So those are 3 chapters in the book that are really pivotal: motivation, habits, and discipline.
Absolutely. Very, very essential. I use a magic wand test for people. I tell them when they're struggling with their career or not sure what they want to accomplish, I'm like, if everything was equal and you could do anything you want, what would you want to do? What job would you want? Where would you want to go? Make that wish, set that big goal, and then we can figure out a pathway to get there. But you have to know what you want first. You can't just want money. You can't just want success. It's got to be a little more tangible than that. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. And I say this, and not to be disrespectful to people at all when I say this, because I've had many people, my employees over the years, who communicate their goals to me. And the first thing out of my mouth is, so what are you going to change? Change agility is in the book as well. That's a whole chapter. That's a big piece of it too, because the world is moving so fast, Logan. Do you want to be the expert of today, or do you want to be the expert of tomorrow? Myself, I want to be the expert of both. So you have to change with the times. And to change and to reach these goals, you need these habits. I always people, if you don't set the habit, you're not on your way to achieving it. Really what you're in the world of, you're in the world of what I call is hope. Now you're hoping my goal hits. And you're in the world of luck. I know you're real successful, Logan. You didn't get to where you're at by luck, right? You did it in discipline, habits, you're motivated, inspired, you have a purpose. And we talk about in the book, purpose. We all need purpose. And if you have a purpose, you tend to not only be happier, you tend to get stuff done because you have a purpose behind you. And that's another big piece of this book. These concepts I've shared with you, in the back of your mind, you're like, Dave, these aren't novel. And you're right, they're not. All I did was take these concepts, serve them up in a little different way. And I actually say in the book, in one of the chapters, I'm not Tom Brady. You wouldn't recognize me walking down Michigan Avenue. What I am, though, is I'm the guy next door. I'm your neighbor. If I can do it, Logan, small steps at a time, your neighbor can too. And we can do this together.
No, and it's important, like I said, reading a book that lays it all out for you, even like you said, if it's not novel, so what? You're putting it all down there. It's a great reminder. It's a great wake-up call. Developing habits, developing routines are like being on autopilot. Once you have those habits established, you take the thinking out of it, you take the vacillation out of it, and you just do it. You have a habit. I go to the gym every day. I work for a few hours, 9 o'clock when the gym crowd is cleared out, that's when I go. And I go to the gym 5 days a week because I know it's good for me. So those are the kind of habits, not to hold up my life as some kind of shining example, but that's, I think, what you're getting at in this book, that you create a habit, you create a routine, and that's how you get to your goal, because you don't have to think like, am I going to go to the gym today? You're just going to the gym today.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So brilliantly said. Name one person or whether you've interviewed them or in your personal life, that is successful that doesn't have good habits or doesn't develop habits.
They all have good habits. Yeah, that's just how it is. It has, like you said, it takes a month or so to create a habit of doing it day in and day out. But habits are, like I said, autopilot. Were there any challenges for you in writing this book?
Oh, yes. I'm a first-time author. I'm not a big believer in self-deprecation, by the way. So I just want to say that. But if I can write a book, I just want to know everybody out there, you can too.
Right.
What it takes is a ton of reading. I read 23 books in preparation. I've never read 23 books in a year. It takes discipline. We have season tickets to the Bears. My kids and I go. They're all professionals working. We love it. But I would carve out, when the game was over, I'd come home and I would write from 4 to 7 o'clock at night.
Right.
I'm still running the company, Pygon 1. So the challenge was fitting it in. But I loved doing it. I had purpose. But it was a lot of work. It was a ton of reading. It was a ton of research. Because, Logan, you put yourself out there every day interviewing people and your face out there in your movies that you're in. You want to be prepared.
Yeah.
You want to put your best foot forward. And in writing a book, the challenge was making sure it was accurate. My editor, my inner circle who read it, we read it. The book was done in January. The editing took months because we wanted to make sure everything was 100% accurate. I have one funny story, and not funny story, maybe a cute story if I can share.
Sure.
It was the first week in the process, and I'm glad this happened early. I wrote one night. It was my night I was writing from 6 to 9 o'clock. I can visualize, picture myself. And I wrote it. And Logan, when I was writing, have you ever written a book or?
I have. Yep.
Okay. All right. So tell me if you've ever had this situation, my friend.
Sure.
I'm writing. I had a feeling, Logan, I wasn't in the zone. I was an ex-college athlete, so basketball player. So there were days I didn't miss. There were days I couldn't hit anything.
Right.
I wasn't in the zone of writing. I wasn't in my creative mindset. I just knew it wasn't good work. I go to bed that night, tossing and turning a little bit. I wake up and first thing in the morning, I go, I got to read this. So I went, got to the software, read it. It was terrible.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
I knew it. You would have read it. I tell that story because I erased every word of those 3 hours of work. That was hard.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I have my podcast. I'm running the business. I don't have time to make a lot of mistakes. But what I learned that day was not only did I need to make mistakes writing that book, it was pivotal to writing a good book. I had to fail. I had to have bad nights. That was the only way I was going to get to a high quality product. So that was my learning experience. And I'm so glad I learned it the first 10 days in.
Exactly. Yeah. I had a boss say to me right off the bat, one of the best things that could happen to you early in your career is to get kicked right in the pants as squarely as possible. So you know what a mistake feels like, and you won't make that mistake again.
Yep.
Well, this book is certainly not a mistake. You say you have a podcast. That's great. You've got a lot of energy, big personality. Yeah. I could see you actually doing success seminars as well. Have you thought about making this a little bit of a seminar for people?
Sure. So I do motivational speaking.
I thought you might.
Yeah, I just did a bunch with Merrill Lynch, Novartis in the last couple of weeks here. So that's definitely part of Pygon One Consulting is my motivational speaking, keynote speaking, speaking at the colleges and other places. So I love doing that. It's a big part of what I do. I think it's really valuable. Again, I love listening to the Navy SEALs speak. I love listening to Tom Brady's of the world, but there's something dynamic and special when, like I said, I'll go back to the beginning, when you have your neighbor saying, hey, we can do this. I can do it. You can do it. I think it's very inspiring for that person in the audience who's sitting there, school teacher, construction worker, CEO, vice president, director of sales, nurse. You know what? I can take these little steps too, because that's what Win the 16 is about. It is not about, if you're a person that wants to be a broadcaster, Emory Award winning like you, I'll throw a little plug to my good friend, Logan Crawford. It's not good. Let me just tell everyone out there who wants to be you. It's not happening overnight.
Right.
Those of you at New York Journal of Broadcasting, you can get there. It's going to take small steps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Little by little, if you stay down your path, you will get there. Just like you did. So
yeah, there are no shortcuts to success, that's for sure. And it's funny you talk about broadcasting, because sometimes I'll teach on a college level broadcasting and journalism. And first thing I say to my students, I look at everybody on TV. I say they're not smarter than you, they're not more talented than you, they're not better looking than you. I said the only thing that they do that you don't is they're willing to work harder than you. They're willing to make the sacrifices you won't. I mean, are you willing to have, Christmas dinner at a cafeteria, at 3 o'clock in the morning because you're doing the graveyard shift from Christmas Eve into Christmas Day? So it's that kind of sacrifice that people make along the way. There's certain people who look like they've been plucked by God and anointed at 24 years old. I don't know. But most people who are successful have worked and paid their dues and done things that the other people just wouldn't do. I'd imagine that's your experience as well.
Logan, I totally agree. And again, my experience is I was in corporate America. I was in leadership roles for over 20 years, left Fortune 500 company to, and some of the people thought I was crazy. They're like, you stay on the path, you'll retire in 12 years. Like,
Right.
you'll be done. You'll be on the beach. And I was like, they didn't get it, which I totally understand. We're all different. We're all willing to, some of us are willing to take bold moves. Some of us are not. But I gave all of that up to start at zero because I believed in this, and there was a passion, there was a drive, there was an energy to write a book. And I want to get on the stage because I think, and I'm already seeing it, delivering these talks to people, it's resonating, it's connecting. So what you said about hard work, I have a quote in my phone that I absolutely love. I'd love to share it if you don't mind.
Sure.
And I love doing triathlons. I love all that stuff. I love the mental challenge. It says, if it's humanly possible, I can do it.
Great. Yeah, I
And
love that.
I'm not saying I'm David Goggins. Don't get me wrong. He is another level, and you laugh because you know that, right?
Right.
But I think it's a mindset.
Yeah.
If it's humanly possible, Logan, that's what you said. These people that are going to starting out in Rochester, New York, or Des Moines, Iowa, in broadcasting,
Right.
or acting in a small Joliet, Illinois, before they get to Second City here in Chicago.
Right.
They started out and they were willing to pay their dues and work hard because they had a purpose. They loved it. There's no shortcuts.
Yeah.
What is that saying? If it's too easy, it probably is, and there's something wrong there.
Yeah. If it's like too easy, it's probably not true.
Yeah,
And yeah, or
I
something
think,
like that. We're paraphrasing, but yeah, I absolutely know what I mean. Well, you have your own consulting firm, Pygon One Consulting. So you've stepped out of the box once again, where you said, I don't need the corporate structure. I don't need a boss. I can chart my own path. What's that been like for you?
uh, I've loved it. It's been wonderful. I do have to go back to corporate America and say thank you to them. And I say that in my book. If it wasn't for them, I'm not here today. I was around some of the best salesmen ever, leaders. They took us every year and committed to learning and development, emotional intelligence, how to tell stories, Zig Ziglar public speaking, the 7 habits, leadership development, how to build a culture, all that stuff. And that's what whet my appetite on wanting to learn more and more and more. So when I did do my consulting work years ago, I fell in love with it. I went back into leadership and I realized my real passion is working one-on-one executive coaching, or working and speaking in front of 100 people. Ship Bob the other day with 200 people. It was virtual. It was great. I love doing that, and it really is a passion for me. So guess what? It doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, exactly. If you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. That's for sure. How do you motivate people who don't seem to be ambitious, who kind of just want to collect a paycheck? Is there help for those folks?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think some people, this is just real talk, Logan. Some
Yep.
people got it in their gut, some don't. That's
Right.
just it. With that said, it's not that we give up on those folks, but I think that's where authentic leadership and coaching comes in, because those people are a lot more work. Generally speaking, most people that are leading people, time is not on their side. Time
Right.
is not on your side. It's precious. I say that in the book.
Yeah.
Time is precious. So those people who don't necessarily, they need something. And that's what, as a leader, I need to take accountability and ownership and say, how do I get it out of them? How do I do it? I got to spend time with them, asking them questions. What is their purpose?
Right.
Why are they here? What do they love doing? I just took Patrick Lencioni's assessment the other day after reading his book on 6 types of working genius. And basically all that is what are you out of this world at? And it also tells you what you're not so great at. That person that might look like they're not motivated, that you're just talking about, Logan,
Right.
my thought is, my gut tells me, and you hear these successes all the time, especially with parents, they're like, I can't believe he or she made it. And really, when they dial back, you're smiling because they were always doing something they didn't like, and they didn't have a purpose, and they didn't enjoy. But once they found it, they were the most motivated, driven, disciplined people in the world. And I guess that's what we need to find. There are so many people in roles they don't love, they don't even like it. They're
Right.
going through the motions. And it's our job as a leader to maybe help them. Now, if they
Exactly.
don't want to work at all, they're not motivated on anything, and we can't find anything, well, that's maybe the movie Patch Adams or a psychiatrist can help them because I can't. But I
Right.
think we owe it to them to ask the questions to find out and maybe give them assessments. I know with Pygon 1, that's a lot of what I do is we give them different assessments to find out what are they great at. I'm sure you've heard of strength finders
Mhm.
to find out what people are spectacular because everyone's got a gift. It's our job, you and I, to find it out of them.
Exactly. It is hard to light a fire in somebody else's belly, which you started this talk off with, but there are ways to motivate people. Like you said, being a good leader is one of them, and finding out what their hopes, dreams, desires are. And then perhaps they will find the motivation within. And this also brings me to the fact that I feel that Win the 16 not only will help you on a professional level, but I think it will also help you on a personal level and self-growth. Talk to that a little bit, if you would, Dave.
We chapter 16, and it was 16 for a reason, is called Healthy Lifestyle. And it's 16 because it's Win the 16. And I don't believe that we can win our day to the fullest and be our best selves. If correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you said earlier on, Logan, you go to the gym 5 days a week. You work
Yep.
out 5 days a week. First of all, kudos to you. I just want to compliment you on that.
Thanks.
Way to go.
I know I don't look it. I'm a skinny
No,
guy, but I'm teasing.
you look fantastic. Your heart
Thank
rate is probably below 40 when you're sleeping. So great job.
you.
Your resting heart rate.
That's right.
Healthy lifestyle is everything. I have a slide in my motivational talk, and it says sleep, nutrition, and exercise.
Yeah.
Because I make the argument that for those of you out there, like I used to be, especially when the kids were little, that, oh, I'm a tough guy. I don't need sleep. I can do it. I'm just better, Logan. I'm more
Yeah.
patient. I ideate better. My listening skills are better.
Yeah.
All of it. I'm just better.
Yeah.
Nutrition. What I put in my body matters. It
Yeah.
just does. It does. And people say, well, I don't care how I look. I'm not talking about how you look. I'm talking about, and I always tell this to my kids, everyone, let's say, when I use the word average, I don't mean it out of disrespect when I say this, but let's say everybody's on the same playing field from 9 to 3 out there in corporate America, working hard, doing all that. But at 3 o'clock, the average person their energy starts to dip.
Yeah.
If you sleep well and you put good things in your body, what I'm saying is at 3 o'clock, as other people are taking a dip, you won't.
Right.
What a competitive advantage is, Logan. If you're dipping from 3 to 5 and I'm not, that's 10 hours a week that I'm still moving and rolling. You're not. How are you
Exactly.
with me? You're not.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like Stephen Covey said, you have to take time to sharpen the saw. And that's always stuck with me. That you have to take care of yourself first. You have to put the oxygen mask on yourself first.
Yep.
You got to make sure this tool is sharp in order to perform at your peak.
Yeah. And who has ever done any type of exercise? And again, I'm not telling everyone to do triathlons out there. What I am saying, though, is if you're not a person who moves very much as a 10-minute walk every day, the data shows that 10 minutes of walking, you will get not only a benefit physically, but cognitively. The mind and the body will benefit from just as simple as 10-minute walk. The other thing is, I had an executive the other day. They read the book. I was on stage and they said, I believe in this. My husband and I actually have done 15 minutes of walking every day before the kids get up. And she said, what the other thing we uncovered from it, we didn't think about this. We feel so good about ourselves. We feel accomplished. And I said, bingo. Yeah, you should. It's not about just 10 minutes or I ran 5 miles.
Right.
It's about did something that was out of your norm, good for you.
Absolutely. That is part of Winning the 16. The name of the book is Win the 16, Principles and Strategies to Optimize Your Day. It is written by Dave Pygon of Pygon 1 Consulting. This is a terrific book. It'll help you get your head straight about how you can have peak performance every day. Essential to that, of course, is developing good habits. And I'm going to leave you, Dave, with one tip on how to get up early and how to take that walk. Get yourself a Jack Russell Terrier. He will wake you up between 5:30 and 6:30 in the morning and
Okay.
insist on going for a nice long walk. So that's helpful too. That's my walking buddy.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You did a great job. Appreciate your time today, Dave. Thanks so much for joining us here on Spotlight.
Logan, it was a pleasure. It was great to meet you, and I thank you for the time.
Absolutely. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight. And be sure to win the 16 with Dave Pygon.